Overview of security management in Windows 10. Now, Microsoft is dedicated to providing its customer with secure operating system such as and Windows Server and secure apps such as Microsoft Edge. In addition to the security assurance of its products, Microsoft also enables you to have final control over your environment by providing the various configuration capabilities. And one of them is security policies. These security policy settings The security policy settings are rules that administrators configure on a computer or multiple devices for the purpose of protecting resources on a device or network. So this security setting is the extensions of the local security policy editor snap. It allows you to define security configuration as part of a group policy object. And the group policy objects are linked to Active Directory containers such as sites, domains or organizational units, and they enable you to manage security settings for multiple devices from any device joined to the domain. And security settings policies are used as a part of your overall security implementations to help secure domain controllers, servers, clients and other resources in your organizations. This security setting is part of group policy object. Group policy object is it is linked to Active Directory sites and domains and organizations, and in those sites, domains and organization units we have multiple devices in the network. So when you configure the group policies, so it will applies on all the devices in the network in the domain. So we can configure these policies from the single point, that is domain controller. Now when you can do that by when you are having the Active Directory environment where you are having the domain environment. But if you are having the local machine, then you are having the local group policy editor. This local group policy will apply only on the local machine, and this security policy is also the part of that local security local group policy, and you can manage this by using the local group policy editor snapper. What you can do with security settings, you can control user authentication to network or devices, the resources that users are permitted to access, whether to record users or groups action in the event log or membership in the group. So we can control these things from security settings. Then the security setting extensions of the local group policy editor includes the following types of security policies. These are the following policies we have in the security setting. First, you have account policy. In this account policies, these are defined on devices and they affect how user account can interact with the computer or domain. Account policies include the following type of policies. First is the password policy. This policy determines the settings for passwords such as enforcement and lifetime, and password policies are used for domain account. Then account lockout policy. Policies determine the conditions and the length of time that an account will be locked out of the system, and account lockout policies are used for domain or local users account. Then we have Kerberos policy. These policies are used for domain users account, and they determine Kerberos related settings such as ticket lifetimes and enforcement. This policy only available when you are having a policy in domain. So in the domain policy you will see the Kerberos policy. In the local machines the Kerberos policy is not used. It is not there because this Kerberos protocol is the authentication protocol for Active Directory domain. So how it is going to be authenticated, what are the different aspects of this Kerberos policy like lifetimes, enforcement of tickets and Kerberos related settings. So this policy contains those Kerberos related settings, but this thing is available only in domain security policy. Right now if you are not having a domain in a local policy, you will not see this Kerberos policy there. Then you have local policies. Second, you will have local policies. These policies apply to a computer and include the following types of policy settings. Audit policy, user right management, and security options. This audit policy specifies the secure setting that control the logging of security events into the security log on the computer and specifies what types of security events to log, success, failure, or both. So whenever you having anything is happening in your system, logs will be generated. Now in audit policy, you can decide like which type of logs can be created, like when the user logs in, when the user logs into the domain, when the user access some privilege, when the user is restarting the system, shutting down the system, and doing doing those things. Two things can be possible: either they will do the thing successfully, or they will fail their failure. So you can decide like whether you want to log the success attempts or failure attempts, or maybe we can decide like both. We can say both attempts should be logged. This user rights management specifies the users or groups that have log on rights or privilege on a devices. So in your local device, who has the privilege and which group or which user has the rights or privileges on the device, it is decided by this user rights management. Then security option specifies the security settings for the computer, such as administrator and guest account names, and access to floppy disk drives and CD-ROM drives, installation of drivers, logon attempts, and so on. So this security policies, security options decide like which user or account have these privilege of installation of drivers, logon attempts, and different type of policies. Then we have Windows Firewall with advanced security. This specifies the setting to protect the device or your network by using the stateful firewall that allows you to determine which network traffic is permitted to pass between your device and the network. So this is for the network security. It decides like here we can configure which that network traffic can be permitted to go through your system or which traffic you should not be allowed. Then network list manager policy. This is the setting used to configure different aspects of how network are listed and displayed on one device or many devices. It decides like public network, private network. Then public key policies. This specifies the settings to control encrypting file system, data protection, and BitLocker drive encryption, in addition to certain certificate paths and services settings. So in this we have some certificate key policies to encrypt or decrypt our data, to protect the data, or we can use a BitLocker. So we have these certificate keys here in this, and also we have the policies related to those certificates in this. Then software restriction policy. This specifies the setting to identify the software and to control its ability to run on your local drive, local device, organization unit, domain, or site. So here we can decide which software can be run or which software cannot be run in our local machine. Or suppose if we are having in the domain security policy, then you can decide it is in the organizational unit or domain or site also. Then we have application control policy. This specifies the setting to control which users or group can run particular application in your organization based on unique identities of files. Now these are same as security restriction policy. The job of this policy is also same, to restrict the softwares to run and control the software which user and which group can run those softwares or not. But here in this application control policy we have extra thing that we can restrict the universal apps also. These software restriction policies are available since the old versions of Windows where there was no universal apps. But nowadays we are having the universal apps which we can see on the tiles. Those universal apps those universal apps which works on desktop and mobile tablets, handheld devices also. So those are the universal apps. These are new things in Windows 8 and Windows 10. So we have this application control policy which can control those apps also. Then we have IP security policies on local computer. This policy specifies the settings to ensure private secure communication over IP network through the use of cryptographic security service, that is IPsec. And IPsec establishes the trust and security from a source IP address to a destination IP address. These policies define the IPsec policies to secure the connection from source to destination. When you send some data to some machine, then the data go from the network cables and it might not be secured. Some protocols are not using the security by default. It is not secure. So for those kind of network traffic, we can use IPsec to secure those connections by doing the cryptographic security service. Doing the cryptographic security, that is encrypting from one machine to the other machine, encrypting from the source to destination. And we can do that by creating the policy here in this IP security policies on local computer. Then we have advanced audit policy configuration. This advanced audit policy configuration specifies settings that control the logging for security events into the security log on the device, and the settings under advanced audit policy configuration finer control over which activities to monitor as opposed to the audit policy setting under local policies. Basically, this policy is same as the audit policy we have in the local policy. It is also deciding like which event should be logged and which event should not be logged, which event should be logged, success or failure. But here in advanced audit policy, it is in detail, like it will give you the detailed option to log those things. Like when you say account login policy, you want to log when account successfully logged on or logged out. So here in this advanced audit policy, you will see the detailed information about it, like how finer control you will give, like more options you will get, or not only like log on, user log on, you will get more user authentication, user key policy and other things. Now let's see it in our system and how it works. Now this is our Windows 10. Now security policies we will get from control panel, administrative tools, and from here we will see this local security policy. So this is our local security policy. Now if you open it from here, so this is the policy, this is the local security policy. Now because this is part of local group policy object, so it is actually part of the group policy object, so you can open it from the group policy object also. Now if you want to open it from group policy object, so for that you will press Windows R and you will type gpedit.msc. This command will open the group policy snapping. Now this group policy edit is local group policy edit snapping. It is not for domain. So if I click OK, so this is our local group policy editor snapping, and this is the same as you will see in domain. Policies are also same, almost same, but those policies are not much useful for the local system. So these policies, all these policies are not much useful in local system except this local security policy. This is for the local security policy and this is for the local system. Now when you configure when you configure it from here in the domain, it will apply to multiple devices, but here it will apply to only this local machine. So those policies, some of those policies are not that useful here for the local machine. Now this security setting, local security setting, you will get here in the here you have two settings, like computer configuration and user configurations. So the computer configuration will apply on computer, user configuration will apply on only on users. So this security policy is under the computer configuration. So when you go to computer configuration, Windows settings, then you will see this security settings, and these settings are same as these settings which you have opened here. So if you see this, then the same policies are there: account policy, local policy, this defender policy, network list manager policy, public policy. So this is the same policy. So this local security policy is actually the part of this group policy object, local group policy object. Now local group policy object has many other policies like related to software settings, Windows settings, and administrative templates also. You have Windows settings. In Windows settings you have name resolution policy, deploy printers policy, security settings policy based on quality of service. Then you have user configuration, also you have software settings, Windows settings, and administrative templates. Same, but it is different. When you go to users, you will see different policies. You will see different policies than the computer policies. Then administrative templates. Administrative templates are the useful thing where you will control the many other aspects of Windows 10. Like control panel, you want to control Windows, this control panel from here. You have many other policies to control the control panel settings. Then you have network settings here where you can control different network settings. Then you have printer settings where you can control different printer things. Server settings, start menu and taskbar settings. You have many options to configure, like for example, remove all program list from the start menu. So it will remove the all program list from the start menu. Pin apps to start when installed. Do not keep history of recently opened documents. So you have lots of different policies here. You have system related policies here. You have Windows component policies here, and you will see all policies here. This is computer configuration policies and this is user configuration policies. It looks similar, but there are some differences because users are different than computers. So these some policies are different than users. Like for example, if you apply the computer policies, then it will apply to all the users which logs into that computer. And when you apply the user policy, then it will not go for the computer configuration. That means what? Those users which you are applying this policy, only those users will affect. So if those users logs into some system, they will get these restrictions, and when other users logs into the same system, they will not get these restrictions. The user policies, these user configurations will carry with the user in the domain. In the domain, what happened? Every user can log into every machine in the domain. So domain users do roam around the systems, that they log into this system one day, they can log into other system other day. So the policies will also roam with those users. So wherever the user goes, the policy will go with that user. This is what user configuration policy. But the computer configuration policies will only apply to computer, and the computers will not roam. So those policies will not roam. And the policy Windows settings, the security setting is the security policy which we are seeing right now. So these policies are not that useful for the local system. These policies are much useful when you are having the domain environment. So this is our local group policy, local security policy. Now what we have in the first place is the account policy. So when you open this account policy, you have two policies here: password policy and account lockout policy. Now there is no Kerberos policy it is showing here, because this is the local system and this is not the domain controller. So in the domain controller you will see the domain policy, and in the domain policy you will see the domain security policy, and in that domain security policy when you open this account policies, you will see the Kerberos policy also. Now here, first is password policy. So when you click on this, you will see these different policies. These different policies define the different aspects of password. For example, first policy here, it says enforce password history. By default it is 0. Now 0 password remembered. That means your machine will remember no passwords. Now this policy is to remember the previous password you have changed. That means suppose right now your password is ABC. Now when you change the password, so you will use the same password again. That means if suppose this password is my favorite password, so it happens some users has their own favorite password, so they want to use the password every time. So when the password expires, so it has to be changed. So when it has to be changed, the user still use the same password again. Now that is not good for security. That is not good for security because if suppose someone guesses your password, so they can use your system with your authentication, and whenever they do and whatever they do with your authentication, you will be responsible for that. So if some user guesses your password and he knows that your password is this and he logs in with your username and password and do some bad things, then you will be the responsible person. So it is good idea, or it is better for the security to change the password every time, and also change new password every time. That means every time when you change the password, you should use the new password, because if someone guesses your one password, then next time when they try to use the password, it will not able to use because you have changed the password. So every time when you change the password, you should use the new password. That is the security thing. But some users are not that good. They use the same password again and again. Now they can do that because this policy is allowing it. It is remembering only 0 password. Now if suppose I change the password history, if I go here and if I say remember 2, then what happens? It cannot use the same password unless it changes this password 2 times. For example, right now my password is A. Now when I change the password, I cannot use A because the history is 2. So I can change the password to B. Now when I change the password, now I cannot use the B again. So I cannot use B again because the password history is 2. So the first remember password is A, the second remember password is B. Then when I change the password, then I have to change. Now I have to change it to C. Then when I change the C password, now remember histories are 2, so the 2 passwords are gone. Now I can use A again. So after the 2 changes, I can use the same password again when the password history is 2. Let's see that. So I will do what? I will go to change password here. I pressed Alt Control Delete and I have option to change password. This is for the current user. So every user can change their own password. So this is for the current user, and current user wants to change the password. Right now its password is ABC at 123. Now it wants to change it. So the old password is ABC at 123. This is my old password. Now I want to use the password again, ABC at 123, and again ABC confirm at 123. So I am trying to use the same password again. Now let's see what happens. It says unable to update the password. The value provided for the new password does not meet the length, complexity or history requirement for the domain. Now it is giving the error of all the policies related, but it is this history policy is applying here. These policies are not applying. These length policy, complexity policy is not applying here. This history policy is applying here. So I cannot use the same password now. So Okay, I will change the password. So my current password is abc at 123. Now I will use the new password. Let's say I will use abc only, abc. So this is one time change. Now it has changed successfully. So I have changed one time. Now again I want to change again. Now my password is abc. Now can I use the previous password abc, my favorite, at 123, abc at 123? This was my favorite password, so can I use it again? No, I cannot use it again. I can use it only after two changes. Now abc is the current password. Can I use abc again? No, I cannot use it again. So I have to change it into different password. So let's say abc, I will change it to xyz and xyz, and it has been changed successfully. Now I have changed two times. Now I will go and change again. So right now my password is xyz, and I want to change it to back to my favorite abc at 123, abc at 123. And can I change this? Now I can change it. So because the password history is 2, so I can change my password after 2 changes. So this is what password history. It remembers the previous 2 passwords if you configure 2. Now you can configure, you can go more than, remember, you can go maximum up to 24. So you can set this policy up to 24. Now 24, that means if you are changing the password daily, then your favorite password you will keep after 24 days. So at least after 24 days if you are changing the password daily. Now I will make it 0 again, so that other policies, when I configure this policy, will not affect. Now password maximum age. This is the maximum age for the password. That means suppose if I don't change my password, I know the password history is there, but I want to keep my favorite password and I don't change password. So after 45 days it will automatically expire, and it will automatically expire, and you have to change the password. And you have to change the password, and then you have to change back to new because the history is there. So you have to change it to different password every time, and you have to change it because it is after 42 days your password will expire. You can increase this value, you can decrease the value, you can go up to maximum 999 days, you can keep it up to 999 days. By default is 42. Now after 42 days your password will expire and you have to change your password. Now for example, I have kept the history of 10. That means when your password expires after 42 days, then you have to change the password. So you want to keep again abc@123, so you cannot change, you cannot use it because your history says 10 times you have to change different passwords. So every 45 days you have to change it to separate different password, then different, then you can keep your abc@123 again. Now some users do what? They are smart. They do some smart thing. They can do what? After 45 days when the password expires, so on the same day, same time, it will do what? It will change the password to 10 times different password, and then history is over, then it will keep the favorite password again. That means it will change 10 times different passwords and then keep the same password again. So it will change the 10 time passwords, it will change it in the same time, same day. They can also do that. So for those kind of users, we have this policy: minimum password age. That means once you have changed the password, then you cannot change it again unless the days are says like whatever the days are says. By default it is default 0. So suppose if I say 30, now that means what? Once you have changed the password, then you cannot change it again until 30 days. This is the minimum age, that means you have to keep your current password at least to 30 days. So after every 45 days it is automatically going to expire if you don't change, and if you want to change, then you have to keep the current password at least 30 days. And when you want to change, then you have to change it every time different password, and you have to change it in 10 times different passwords. So these policies will force the user to use a secure password and to change the password every time when they change the password, and they have to use the new password every time. I will remove this policy right now. Now you can see the password age is 30. Now remember, I can change the password any time, but now it will not allow me to change the password because the minimum days are 30. So let's say if suppose I want to change the password again. So right now my password is ABC at 123. I want to change it to a different password. Let's say 123 123. It's a complete different one, but it is not allowing me to change. Now here again it is giving me the same error, but this is minimum password age policy is applying here. So I cannot change the password until 30 days. We can go for maximum 998 days. So we can go for 998 days, 998 days to keep the password. We can force the user to keep the password. I will remove this to 0. So when I apply the other policies, it will not affect. Now the next policy says minimum password length. Now some users are using very unsecure passwords. Unsecure passwords, that means small password, like for example I use ABC 123, or maybe sometime I use only 8. These are not secure. These are very weak passwords. Any hacker can crack this password in seconds, in some seconds. So it is not good. It is not good to have a small password. At least you should have a minimum 8-character password or more than 8 characters. So if you are having a more than 8-character password, then it will be difficult for any hacker to crack your password. They are having some different ways of cracking the password. They are having different tools of cracking the password. So they can crack your simple password very quickly. But if you are having a password more than 8 characters, then it will be difficult for them to crack the password. So we can force the user to use a password which is more than the 8th character, or maybe more than 10 characters. We can force whatever we like we have a maximum. By default it is 0, so you can use any number of password character of password, but here we can go up to 14 character. So we can force the user to use minimum password length as 14. That means minimum 14, that means you cannot go less than 14. You cannot use the password less than 14. That means you cannot use a password with 13 characters. Now 14 is too much, it's too big, but we should have at least more than 8 character password, or more than 7 at least. So let's say I say more than 7 character password you should have. Now when the user password changes, when the user changes the password, it has to keep the password which is having more than 7 character. 7 or more than 7. So it cannot go less than 7. That means it cannot create the password with the character 1, 2, 3 or 6, even 6. it has to create the password 7 characters or more than 7 characters, because I have added these 7 policy here. Now we can see that when I try to change the password now remember, the minimum password age is not applying, password history is also not applying, so I can use same password again. Now this is my password. Now I want to change it to simple ABC. Now it is not allowing me to change. Now which policy it is applying here is the password length. You can say here it says the new password does not meet the length. It is also saying complexity and history, but this time the length is applying it because I have disabled the history policy. So it is not allowing me to change the password to less than 7 character. So I can use this is my old password. I can use a password which is 7 or more than 7 character. So let's say I will say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 7 character, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So I am using 7 characters, and now it is changed because the policy is what? To have a 7 character, more than 7 characters. Now you saw what password I used. I use 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Now it is the policy saying that you have to use a 7 character, but it is not secure. The password which I use is still not secure. It is very simplistic and very common password. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So anyone can easily guess, even if I use the 14 character like this, like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, it will still be easy to guess. So this next policy is this password must meet the complexity requirement. This policy is always disabled and we can enable it. Now when we enable this, then what happens? You are using the password, whatever the password you are using, you have to use the complex password. That means you have to use the characters ABC, then you have to use the numbers 1 2 3, and then you have to use the special characters like @ hash dollar. So these are the characters you have to use with your password. Otherwise it will not accept your password. So with the length, if the password is complex, then it will be very difficult for any hacker to crack your password. If suppose your password is more than 8 character or 10 character and it is a complex password, then it is almost impossible for any hacker to crack it. Almost impossible. So if I want to change the password now, my password is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. This is my current password, and if I use like new password as again I will try to use the same password. I can use the same 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Now remember, I am using more than 7 characters, 9 characters, but still it is not complex. It is not allowing me, and this time this complexity password policy is applying here. So when I press OK, to change the password, it will not allow me to change. So I have to use the complex password, which is more than 7 characters. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 is my current password. Now I will change it to ABC. Now these are letters, then special character @, then 1 2 3. So I'm using 7 characters, and I'm using numbers, letters and special character. So I'm using its complex password. I'm using a 7 character password, and now it allowed me to change. But remember that ABC at 123 is still a simplistic password. It is not that secure. It is very common password. It is very common password. Most of the people uses this because it fulfill the complexity requirement. So you should have set the character length to more than 7 character. So users have to do some other things. Then you have this policy says stored password using reversible encryption. Now this policy is disabled, and mostly we don't enable this, because when you enable this policy, it will reduce the security of your passwords. That means when you enable this, it will reduce the policy, it will reduce your security things. Now any policy when you open here to configure, you will see the explanation here. Any policy when you open, like when you open this policy, you will see the explanation here, like what characters, what letters you have to have. So same as here also you can see the explanation. Now what explanation of this policy says that store password using the reversible encryption. Now this security setting determines whether the operating system stores a password using reversible encryption, and this policy provides support for application that uses the protocol that requires knowledge of the user's password for authentication purposes. Now remember, storing password using reversible encryption is essentially the same as storing the plain text version of the password, and for this reason this policy should never be enabled unless application requirements outweigh the need to protect the password information. So it is saying that it should not be enabled unless the application is required, and it is required by some application. Now if it is required by the application to unsecure your password, then that application's job is to secure your password. Now this policy is required when using challenge handshake authentication, authentication through remote access authentication, and it is also required when using digest authentication in internet information services. So these applications jobs is to secure your password, because it will do what? It will encrypt, it will secure the password, it will keep the password in unencrypted format. Keep the password in unencrypted format, that means, remember, your passwords are stored in the system. That is why when you give a password, it is matching the password which you give, the password with the stored in the system. So every password, every user's password and user information are stored in the system, and you cannot see those information because those informations are encrypted. And any hacker if try to see those information, they cannot see that because those informations are encrypted. Now when you enable this policy, then what happens? Those password will not be encrypted now, and anyone or any hacker if try to extract those passwords of users from the system, they can extract it and they can see it in plain text format. They can see it easily because it is not encrypted. So this policy should never be enabled unless you required, and unless some application required it to enable. These are the default policies we have. We are seeing some new policies here. This is minimum password length audit policy, and this is relaxed minimum password length limit policy. These are the new policies. If you can see, it is not defined, but we can define it here. It says here that minimum password length audit, that means log audit events when new passwords are shorter than some character. Like you have set some policy here for the characters, like I have set the policy for 7 characters, so every user has to use the password more than 7 characters, 7 or more than 7 characters. But if suppose some user tries to use the password which is less than 7 characters, then it will log the event. It will log the event, and you, the administrator, knows that who has tried to use the password less than 7 characters. So you can decide here that how many character you are going to log. Like if the user is creating the password of 2 characters shorter than 2, then it will generate the log. Or suppose I say shorter than 5, then it will generate the log, and it will generate the log, and you will understand that which user is doing something like this. Then you have relaxed minimum password length limit, and here we have two options, enable and disable. This modifying this setting may affect compatibility with client service and applications. Now these policies are new, so it may not compatible with the other versions of Windows and the applications. So if you enable this, so maybe it will not be compatible. Now what this do here, you can see in the explanation, this setting controls whether the minimum password length setting can be increased beyond the legacy limit of 14. That means the legacy limit of the minimum password age is this minimum password length is maximum password length is 14. We have set it to 7, but it can go up to 14. This is the legacy setting. But if this setting is not defined, minimum password length may be configured to maximum 14. But this setting defines that you can increase the length of 14 to more than 14. So if you enable this policy, you can increase the limit of 14 characters, 14 maximum character policy. So this is password policies. Then we have account lockout policies. Now this account lockout policy is very simple. It is to lock your account in the event of breach. That means suppose some hacker or some other user try to log in with your account. Now he don't know the password of yours. So when he don't know the password, he will try to guess. He will try to guess, like suppose he will try, okay, maybe your password is ABC. So he will try ABC, enter, fails, because it is not your password. Then it says, okay, I will try something else, XYZ, enter, fails. Then he will try something else, 1, 2, 3, fails. So he can keep trying unless it guesses the right password. Now it can try unlimited of times because this policy is set to 0 here. Invalid logon attempts. So any other user or hacker can try unlimited of times to try to guess your password. So it can try invalid password unlimited of times. So hackers do what? They don't try it manually. Actually they are having some tools which can try the thousands of passwords within the seconds. Within a minute they can try thousands of passwords, thousands of different passwords. So if you are not having this policy, then the hackers do what? They will try thousands of different passwords within a minute. They will use those tools, and some of those passwords may match. So if those password matches, then he will get the access of your account. So for this is the policy which we can enable to block that kind of attack or to secure your account. So for example, I enable this threshold to 2. So it will only allow 2 invalid logons. Now when I apply this policy, these other 2 policies will also be applied automatically. They are related to this policy. So this 2 policy says account lockout duration. That means when the account locked, then how much time it will take to unlock it. Then reset counter lockout, reset the account lockout counter after how many times. This policy defines that how many times after you can use the password to log in again, use the right password to log in. But at the duration of lockdown, at the duration of lockout, your right password will also not work. Remember, your right password will also not work. So when I configure this to 2, it configures these other 2 policies also. and configures with the default value of 30. So when I use the wrong password here 2 times, then my account will be locked for total 30 minutes. This is the total time, and then my account lockout counter will be reset after 30 minutes also. Now reset means I can use my right password again after 30 minutes. So duration is total here. Now if I decrease this duration, if I say 20 minutes here, then the other will also decrease. You see, this policy is also decrease it to 20 because this is the total lockdown time. But this time is defining like how many time after I can use my right password. So when anyone uses the login attempt, invalid login attempt, then account will be locked. And when it will lock for 20 minutes, and during this time your right password will also not work. So when you try to apply the right password, so it will also not work. So those hackers who is using those tools to run these 1,000 passwords within the minute, if they come up with the right password, it will still not match, it will fail. Then this will reset the counter. Like I don't want user to wait for 20 minutes, the user which knows the right password. So I can reduce the time, and when I reduce this, it will not reduce. So after 10 minutes users can use the right password, but if they don't know the right password, they have to wait for 20 minutes to try the other passwords again. Unless then the account will be locked. Now this policy will apply to all the users except administrator. Now remember, this policy will apply to all the users. Now all the users, that means including this user also. This user which I created at the time of installation. This user is also an administrator, but this is not a built-in administrator. So this policy will also apply on this user. So if this user also tried 2 invalid login attempts, then this user's password will also lock, and it will lock for 20 minutes. But this policy will not apply to administrator, a built-in administrator. So that if any user locks the account, lock itself mistakenly, then it will go to the administrator and it will ask the administrator to unlock the account. They don't want to wait for the 20 minutes, or suppose my duration is more than 20 minutes, it is actually 60 minutes, like it is an hour. So you don't want to wait for an hour to unlock the account. So you will go to administrator, you will tell the administrator that my account is locked. So the administrator will do what? It will unlock your account, because administrator can log in, and administrator, this policy will not apply to administrator. But the user which I logged in, this user is not a built-in administrator. By default, the built-in administrator is disabled in Windows 10 machines. In Windows 10 operating system, Windows 10 is a client operating system, so the built-in administrator account is disabled for the security reason, because built-in administrator can do lots of things. That means it is having the core level permission on your system. So it can change lots of system things. So it is disabled because you will not change those things mistakenly. That means if you log in with administrator account and you change something mistakenly, then it will affect and it can corrupt your system. For that reason, it has been disabled. The administrator account is disabled by default. But if you want, then you can enable it. You can enable it, but not on Home Edition. If you are using Windows 10 Home Edition, no administrator account is there. There is no built-in administrator, but there is a built-in administrator, but you cannot see it, you cannot enable it. But in Pro or Enterprise Edition, you can see the administrator account, you can enable the administrator account, but not in Home Edition. Home Edition is only for the home user, to use to home users only. built-in. These pro editions are for the organizations, and enterprise is also for the enterprise organizations. So the administrator account is available there, but not available in home edition. Now where you will see the administrator account, you will see it in computer management. So you will right click on start and you will go to computer management. This computer management is also available in control panel, administrative tools, and under administrative tools you have computer management. So this is the computer management, snap in, and here you see local users and groups, and under local users and group you have users and groups. So when you go to users, you will see all the users including administrator. This is the built-in administrator. You can see the description, it says built-in account for administrating, and I have logged in with this account. This is not a built-in administrator. This user is member of the administrator group. This user is the member of the administrator group, so it can do lots of things like administrator do, but it is not an administrator. It is not a built-in administrator. So I will enable this. I can enable this by going into property, and I can remove this. Account is disabled option. Now if you want to enable it, it says it has to be a password for it. The password does not meet the password policy. So you have to have a password because we are having the policy there. In the password policy, if you see, I have enabled the complexity requirement. I have enabled the 7 character. So I will remove these. Now it is enabled because there is no policy saying that you are having the 7 character password. It is 0. You can have no password basically. So it is enabled without password. It is not secure, so I will set password here, and I will set ABC at 123, ABC at 123. Now we are having the built-in administrator account enabled. Then we can try to use the lockout policy. Now I will show you how this lockout policy works. So when I give 2 wrong passwords, then it will lock for 30 minutes, and also I can use the right password after only 10 minutes. Let's see. I will do what? I will log out from here. And now you can see the administrator account also. Now we have administrator account also, but I want to log this, so I will go for this and I will say okay. My password is ABC at 123, but I will try a wrong password, A123. This is incorrect. This is first wrong attempt. Now I will try XYZ. This is also wrong. Now I will try 123. Now you see what it is saying. It is not saying wrong password because I have already used 2 wrong passwords. Now it is saying the reference account is currently locked out and may not be logged on to. So if I use the right password, still it will not allow me. ABC at 123. This is my right password, but still it is saying it is locked. Now my right password will work after 10 minutes because account reset policy is set to 10 minutes. So after 10 minutes I can use the right password. But if I don't know the right password, if suppose I forgot my password, then I have to wait for 60 seconds to again try some new passwords. Now if I don't want to wait for more than these 60 minutes, then I will call the administrator. I will say that I forgot my password, I use the wrong passwords and now my account is locked. So administrator will log in. Now administrator will log in with his own account. Remember, this is built-in administrator. This administrator account is logging first time, so it has to set up these things. So it will take a little time to set up these things. Now administrator is logged in. Now administrator will do what? It can unlock that user. So for unlocking that user, administrator will go to computer management. It will go to computer management, and under the computer management it will go to local users and groups, where it will go to users, and here you will see the user. Now this was the user which is logged himself, so it will go to the property of this user, and here it will see this, that account is locked out. This account is locked out, that means because it is now locked out. So administrator will do only remove this tick to unlock the account. Now this user don't have to wait for the 60 minute to logged in. It can log in now. So administrator has unlocked the user. Now that user can log in again. So this user does not have to wait for 60 minutes again. Now it can use the right password to log in. If again it uses the wrong passwords, then again it will log for more 60 minutes. So that is what the account lockout policy. And this is the account lockout policy. So you can set here how much thresholds you can validate. Like you can go up to maximum 999 attempts. So you can also set up maximum 999 attempts that user can make. So it's on us and depend on our policy, like how much invalid login attempt we can use. Like for example, you go to Facebook. When you try to log in on the Facebook, if you use 20 times wrong passwords, so they have set it to 20 times. So when you set 20 times wrong password, your account will be locked. Now when I remove this policy to 0, if I remove this policy to 0, these other two policies will also become 0. Not applicable. So now these two policies are not applicable because it depends on this. Now there is no Kerberos policy here because it is a local machine. If you are using it in the domain, and if you are seeing in the domain security policy, you will see the Kerberos policy. Then we have local policies. These local policies, under that we have these audit policies. This audit policy is defining the event should be logged, which event should be logged, and these are the different events. For example, we have audit account logon events. That means it will log the events of logon. Like when the user logs in, logs out, it will log it. It will log to the event viewer. Now where it is going to be logged? Now when you open any of these policy, you have two options, success or failure. So when you have successfully logged in, then it will create the log. When you fail logging, then it will also create the log. This setting might not be enforced if other policies is configured to override the category level auditing policy. If you are having an advanced auditing policy configured for the other category, then it will not be applied here, because now we have advanced security audit policy also. Now it has only success and failure. That means When you successfully log in, then it will create the log, and when you fail to log, then also it will create the log. So you can set success or failure, what you want to log, which event you want to log, or you can set both. I want to log both success and failure. Now mostly we don't log success because we want to see the errors with the users, like when the user try to log in and it will see the error, it is not able to log in. So what was the error, what happened to that user, so we can use this to enable this failure logged in, so we can see when the user fails to log. We can enable the successful log to do the monitoring, like who logged in, when logged in, where it is logged in. So for the monitoring purpose, we can enable the success also. Now all these policies are for the same, it is having the same settings, success or failure, success or failure. So you can enable these to log these events. Log these logon events, account management event when the account will be managed, the Active Directory. So account management, directory service access. So whenever the user accesses the directory services successfully or failure, you will be audited, it will be logged. Audit logon events, it is local logons. This is account logon, domain logon, local logon. Object access, when some objects are accessed by user successfully or failure. Policy changes, privilege uses, process tracking, and system events like restarting, shutting down, hibernating your system. Now when you enable these auditing policies, so it will start generating the logs. Now where it will generate the logs, it will generate the logs in Event Viewer. So when you go to administrative tools, you will see the Event Viewer there. This is Event Viewer. This Event Viewer is very important for doing the troubleshooting, because anything happens in your system, everything will be logged here in this Event Viewer. So when you go to Event Viewer, you will see different things. So whatever happens in your system, it is going to be logged, and by checking those logs, you can do troubleshooting. So if your system is not working properly, or if you are having any problem, then you can come up with this Event Viewer and check those logs related to those application or the system or the services. So you have these total view here, overview, how much critical logs you are having, how much error logs you are having, how much warning logs you are having, and information, auditing access logs, audit failure logs, success and failure logs you are having. Now here you can see, this is a custom view. We can create our own view, like what we want to log or what we don't want to log. This is the default one. We can create, we can design our own logs. Then these are the Windows logs. These are related to applications, informations, warnings, and if you see these, it can show you in detail, like application. This is the application, cannot be started. Application SID does not match conductor SID. So this is the thing, this is the message, this is the source, restart manager, this is the date and time, this is the event ID, task category, level is warning, any other keyword, computer name, and it also shows the user who is responsible. Right now it is log name is application. You can go for the detail view also. So these are warnings. We have informations. Informations are just an information. They are not there. They are not critical. Then you have security logs. These are related to the audit settings. So audit successful, audit failure. These are like that. Account management. It says that credential manager credentials were read, and this is the security ID, system, machine name, account name, SI. This is the machine account, and log on security, Microsoft Windows security, logged in, category, it is show you all the detail about it. Then you have setup related logs. Then setup related, when you do some setuping, servicing and all that. This is system related logs. Total system related logs. There are some errors here. The activation of this a timeout waiting for the service VTIs to stop. This is related to some activation thing. So it gives you the information about this system. Your logs, when you enable it on the auditing, it will come up here in the security part. In the security, these are audit access and success, audit success and failure logs. It will come here. There is a forward events also. Forwarded events, that means you can forward your logs to some other machines, and in that centralized machine you can see all the forwarded events. That means if you are having multiple machines, then to check events of all the machines, you have to go to one by one in every machine. So instead of going to every machine one by one, you can forward the logs from all those machines to a single machine, and here you will see those forwarded logs which you forwarded from other machine to this machine. You have application and services logs, hardware events, Internet Explorer events, key management event, Microsoft related events, OpenSSH events, PowerShell events, and also subscription events. This is what Event Weaver. So when we enable those auditing policies, so it will generate the logs, and you can check those logs here in Event Weaver security logs. Then we have this user right management. This user right management define what the administrator or other users or groups can do in your system. Now it is having lots of policies here. For example, I'll show you this allow log on locally. Now if you double click on it, so it shows that these users can log in locally. Administrators can log in locally. The members of this group, members of the backup operators group, guest users and normal users group members can also log in locally. So same as the other policies are there, like who can do what and who cannot do what, like what those users and groups can do. Like changing the system time. For example, changing the system time. Who can change the system time? So administrators and local service users can change the system time. We can add other users here. We can remove those users which we don't want. So there is lots of policies are there. Like suppose I will apply one, shut down the system. So here who can shut down the system? Administrators, backup operators and users group. Now users group means all the normal users can do shut down the machine. Now suppose I will remove this. Now that means users cannot shut down the system. That means the members of the normal users group, they cannot shut down the machine. Let's check that. So I will instead of logging out, I will do switch. I will switch to user 1. So I will log in as this user. Now this user is the normal user and this user is member of that users group. Now I have removed the permission to shut down for normal users. So this rights management policy decides these different things and which groups and which users can do these different things. Some of the things are only done by some administrators, like this debug the program, it can only be done by the administrator. You want, then you can add some users here, like you can add, and you can add those users here. Like I want to add some user here, so I give the name and check name, and then okay. Now this user, including the administrators, can also do the debug. So just like this, you can do add some users and groups into these policies, and you can remove and you can change those policies here. So these are what rights management, that which group and which user has what rights on your system. Then after this you have security options. These are also those same policies like the rights management. Here it is having the security options, and these are different options for the security, like these are account related policies, these are audit related policies, these are DCOM related policies, devices related policy, domain controller related policies. It will apply when you are having this one, so it will apply and you can use those. These policies will not apply here in the local system. These are for domain controllers. These policies are for the domain members. There are some interactive logon policies. For example, this one, it says do not require the control alt delete button. It is not defined, but by default it does not require. When you try to log into the system, it shows the welcome screen, and when you click inside the welcome screen, it will, when you press enter, it will give you the login screen. But if you enable this policy, then it will do what? It will require the control alt delete button to be pressed to see the login screen. These are like don't display last sign in. This is disabled. If you click, if you enable, it will show the last sign in options. Machine inactivity limits. These are the number of previous logons in the cache. Then promote user to change password before expiration. That is 5 days before expiring the password, it will promote the user to change the password. So these are the different policies. There are lots of policies for different things, for system objects, for related to shutdown, to related to user account control. So these are what local policies here. Then you have these defender policy. These defender policies, these Windows Defender firewall policies. These are what firewall policies. It is actually how you will manage the firewall. Then we have these network policies, where we can define the networks, whether the networks are private or public, what to do with the identified and unidentified networks, whether you want to set them to private or public. Then these are the key policies for the certificates and encryptions, and software restriction policies to restrict the softwares, and also application restriction policy, application control policy, the same for restricting the applications. Then this policy is to secure your connection between one machine to other machine. If you are doing some, if you are sending receiving data, so you can secure by using this IPsec policy. Then this is advanced audit policy. The advanced audit policy is same as the audit policy we have here in this local policies, but it is advanced. For example, here if I open this system audit policy, you also see this account logon policy, same as you have here in the audit policy of local policies. But it is not only account logon policy, it is in detail. So if you go on to click on this, you will see detail about it, like account logon, that means credential validation, Kerberos authentication, Kerberos service ticket operation, and other account logon events. So you have not only the single policy, you have in detail that policy. You can only define whether the credential validation is happened successful or failure, whether the authentication of Kerberos service is valid, it happens successfully or it has failed. So not only the account logon, you can manage in detail. You have detailed policies related to these simple policies we have in account lockout policy, in local policies audit. These are simple policies, one policies are there, but in that one policy you have other policies available here in detail. So this is advanced audit policies. This is our security setting. This is just an overview of our security management in Windows 10.